What's good, YouTube? It's Zach, and today we got NFL Week 9 reactions. Hope everyone's having an amazing day so far. Week 9 had a lot of memorable moments, so let's take a look at some of them. Starting things off on Thursday, we had the Baltimore Ravens belting the Miami Dolphins 28-6. The Dolphins have fired their GM since then, 4 days before the trade deadline. Not really sure what's the story behind that one. Mike McDaniel is still employed. Not really sure about that, but let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson in his first game return. Thank you for helping me in fantasy this week, going 18-23 for 204 yards and 4 scores. Derrick Henry, 19 carries for 119 yards. It's like if you have a passing game, then Derrick Henry can start cooking again. Lamar Jackson only have 14 yards on the ground. Leading the way for receiving was Zay Flowers, 5 for 64, no score. You had Charlie Kolar, I believe, getting touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. Mark Andrews only had 2 catches, but they were both for touchdowns. And Rashad Bateman had the other score. For the Miami Dolphins, Tua turned the ball over, made an appearance, going 25 of 40 for 261 and an interception. He had 57 more yards than Lamar Jackson. This game wasn't even close. The Dolphins didn't even score in the second half. That's kind of diabolical. Devon Achane got something going on the ground, but other than him, I mean, Jalen Waddle had a decent performance, but no one could show up on the defensive side of the ball. Each team had 2 sacks and then tackles for loss. I don't know why I'm looking at tackles for loss, but Ravens, much needed win. They're trying to make their way back into the playoff picture. The Dolphins, you're going to fire Mike McDaniel probably by the end of the season, and who knows, maybe you can try to trade Tua. We had probably the biggest upset of the week. We had my Minnesota Vikings going into Detroit and getting a win against the Detroit Lions. J.J. McCarthy was about as mid comes, going 14-25, only completing 56% of your passes. It's kind of diabolical. Had a couple of scores with an interception. Aaron Jones going 9 for 78, and this one, Jordan Mason could not really get anything going. Justin Jefferson and T.J. Hawkinson coming in with the scores. And then for the Detroit Lions, Jared Goff. How are you struggling against this defense? Like, the Vikings can't even block a freaking traffic cone right now. Going 25 of 37 for 284 and 2 touchdowns. He should have had close to 500 yards. The Lions' run game could not get going here. Combined 20 carries for 65 yards for Sonic and Knuckles here. And then receiving, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta ruining some parlays, going 97 yards apiece. Jameson Williams and Sam Laporta for the scores. I see that David Montgomery had a pretty costly fumble in this game, but the Vikings are still just trying to develop J.J. McCarthy. I mean, it was a solid effort. I don't like him getting sacked 5 times, but I mean, it is what it is. He's got to learn. And the Lions, hopefully they can bounce back, but good thing that the other NFC North team lost this week. Up next, we had an absolute shootout between the Chicago Bears and the Cincinnati Bengals. Caleb Williams going 20 of 34 for 280 yards and 3 scores. DJ Moore made sure to throw another touchdown for good measure. The running game, I keep telling you guys, Kyle Monangai, might need to pick him up for waivers. I didn't know that Swift was even hurt in this one. He got 26 carries for 176 yards. Some guy named Britton Brown and DJ Moore had a rushing touchdown, but I thought DJ Moore, he did not have one through the air. But Colston Loveland, Michigan's very own, 6 catches for 118 yards and 2 scores. Olamide Zaccheaus, and then Caleb Williams caught the pass from DJ Moore for a score. Anyway, Caleb Williams had 2 receptions. That's kind of diabolical. He had a 20-yard reception. Like, what are we even doing here? And then for the Cincinnati Bengals, they're just letting Joe Flacco go out there and dominate, going 31 of 47, 470 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. I keep hearing a lot of people saying that Joe Flacco needs to stop turning the ball over. His defense cannot allow 47 points. I mean, even if he didn't have an interception, they probably still would have found a way to lose this game. The Bengals' run game had nothing going. Chase Brown said something pretty diabolical in the post-game interview. Make sure to check his interview if you haven't already. And then receiving, again, Flacco went for 470 yards. T. Higgins led the way, 7 catches, 121, and 2 scores. Chase had a good day, 6 catches for 111. And then you had Ishavas and Noah Fant coming in with the other receiving touchdowns. The Bengals, they desperately need to figure out this thing called a defense. Shamar Stewart has been very underwhelming. I believe the Bengals should sell all their players. Like Trey Henderson should be getting traded this tomorrow, because this is being recorded on Monday, so the trade deadline is tomorrow. So Hendrickson should be getting traded for at least a 2nd-round pick. And then the Bears, they're keeping up pace in the loaded NFC North here. I mean, the Vikings are in last at 4-4, so if that tells you anything. Bengals, you guys got to start shaping things up. Up next, we have a very, very fun game between the Carolina Panthers and the Green Bay Packers. Bryce Young, welcome back into the lineup. Going 11 of 20 for 102 yards. It's pretty diabolical. Only a 55% completion percentage. No touchdowns, 1 interception. Shout out to Rico Dowdle, who was literally the Panthers offense in this one. 25 carries, 130 yards, and 2 scores. See what happens when you give Rico Dowdle the ball more instead of Chuba Hubbard? Good things happen. And then receiving, again, he had 102 yards. There was no receiving at all in Carolina. And then for the birthday boy, Jordan Love going 26 of 37, 273 yards and an interception. Only got sacked once, so you love to see the offensive line there. Josh Jacobs was decent on the ground, could have been better. 17 carries for 87 yards and a score. And then the receiving was led by Romeo Doubs going 7 catches for 91 yards. But the biggest tragedy in this one is Tucker Kraft, who tore his ACL. Not only did the Packers lose to a much worse football team, they also lost arguably their best receiving threat. But Packers, they're going to look to bounce back. I think they have the Eagles next week. It's going to be a tall order. And the Panthers, they're keeping up pace in the NFC South. The game really wasn't stressful. We had the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Tennessee Titans. I believe the Titans, they were tied at halftime. No, they were trailing 2017. But the Titans were in this game for the majority part. Justin Herbert going 19 to 29 for 250, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Being your leading rusher, being Justin Herbert, is kind of diabolical. He ended up having a rushing touchdown as well. Jarrett Patterson and Kamani Vidal could not get anything going on the ground. Receiving, Quentin Johnston and Scott Matlock. That's a defensive lineman, yes, who ended up getting the scores in this one. Aronde Gadsden still proving that he still got it. And then for Tennessee, man, I mean, there's not really much more to be said. I mean, I've already said it throughout the first 9 weeks. It's 12 of 21, 145 yards for Cam Ward, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He got sacked another 4 times. Tony Pollard actually was able to get something going, having 5.6 yards a carry. And then receiving was led by Alec Iomaner, who's pretty solid for PPR purposes, not so much this week. And then, yeah, I mean, this is it right here. I mean, they fumbled the ball twice. They didn't end up losing any. But, dude, Cedric Gray, shout out to you, 16 total tackles. That is absolutely diabolical. But Chargers were able to sneak out a pretty competitive match. The Titans are still looking for that first overall pick. Next, we had an absolute nail-biter that came down to a missed extra point. The Atlanta Falcons losing to the New England Patriots in pretty heartbreaking fashion. Not only did they lose to the team that beat them 28-3, and then some crap like this happens. Michael Penix did enough to win this football game, going 22 of 37 for 221 yards. I think all 3 of them went to Drake London. Yes, they did. 9 for 118 and 3 scores for Drake London. Bijan Robinson couldn't really get anything going here. Tyler Algier only getting 2 carries. And then for the Patriots, Drake May still out there being a surgeon other than having 1 interception and getting sacked 6 times by the Atlanta Falcons defensive front. That's pretty crazy. And then rushing, Travion Henderson getting the start with the injured Ramondre Stevenson going 14 for 55. And then Terrell Jennings ended up having a score in this one. Demario Douglas actually did not ruin parlays. Look at that. 4 catches, 100 yards, and a score. And then Stephon Diggs having a pretty crazy touchdown grab of his own. Patriots did just enough to get out of this one. They keep wanting to fumble the football, especially Drake May for some reason. They really got to start getting those balls checked out, make sure there's no butter on them. But, I mean, it comes down to this guy right here, Mr. Tony Parker Romo, 2 of 3 on extra points. That missed extra point was in the 4th quarter, and how they lost by 1 point. Patriots continuing to hold the AFC East right now, and then the Falcons are the Falcons. Up next, we had the injury bowl between the San Francisco 49ers and the New Jersey Giants. Mac Jones did his game-managing impression, 19 of 24 for 235 and 2 scores. And then Christian McCaffrey just proving that he is the offense. 28 carries for 106 yards and a score. I believe someone else had a season-ending ACL tear for this team. It's someone in here. I just can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Sam. I don't know. And then for the Giants, Jackson Dart, at least the Giants know they have their franchise guy going 24-33, 191 yards and 2 scores. Dart also had 1 on the ground for good measure. Tyrone Tracy probably got to be the waiver wire upset of the week here. And then for receiving, Darius Slayton had 5 catches for 62 yards. Wan'Dale Robinson ended up getting 9 grabs for only 46 yards. Theo Johnson just continues to get receiving touchdowns. And then Gunnar Olszewski with the other one. Niners did what they had to do. I don't think they were favored to win by 10, but they got the job done. And the Giants just got to get healthy and pray to God that there's no more injuries on that defensive line. Up next, we had the trap game that I predicted correctly. The Indianapolis Colts losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Daniel Jones, 31 of 50 for 342 yards, only 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, and getting sacked 5 times. I knew it that the Steelers defensive line would get it together in this game. Jonathan Taylor was bottled up, 14 for 45 yards, and then receiving, he didn't do too much better, 2 catches for 12 yards. Shout out to Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman Jr. for combining for 15 catches and 230 yards. Absolutely insane. And then Aaron Rodgers got a much-needed win for the Steelers. They lead the AFC North 25-35 in a score. Jalen Warren had 2 touchdowns in this game. And then receiving, Calvin Austin, I thought he had a score, but maybe I am wrong. And then Pat Freeman only having the only score on the day. Did TJ Watt make an appearance? He sure did. He had a sack, a tackle for loss. Did he force a fumble as well? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he recovered it, forced fumble, and he recovered it. I think both with the left hand. Steelers, much needed win. Colts still think they're a good team, and they should be looking to bounce back next week. Up next, we had an absolute snoozer between the Denver Broncos and the Houston Texans. The Texans had this game. I picked them to win this in my pick'em leagues, and I was incorrect. Bo Nix completing under 50% of his passes, going 173 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. J.K. Dobbins really couldn't get anything going on the ground, 15 carries for 61 yards. But the freaking Broncos' leading receiver was rookie running back R.J. Harvey, 5 catches for 51 yards and a score. Cortland Sutton only able to bring in 1 of his 6 targets. That's kind of diabolical, like actually. And then the Houston Texans, they did lose C.J. Stroud in this game, who got sacked the same amount of times in Davis Mills in like a third of the time. That's pretty crazy. The Texans couldn't get anything going on the ground. Shout out to, I think, Kayemi Fairbairn, who went 5 of 5 on kicks, or 5 of 6 rather. And then I didn't have an extra point attempt because they didn't score a touchdown. But the Broncos, the thing is, they just win a lot of sloppy games. They had 4 sacks in this one. Did Nick Benito get another sack? I don't see him in the sack column. Nope. Broncos, big win. Texans, I mean, this is your time to catch up. The Colts just lost, and now it's not looking so good. Next, we had a game that I almost got correctly. It came down to a missed 2-point conversion in overtime. We had the Jacksonville Jaguars just squeaking out a win over the Las Vegas Raiders. Trevor Lawrence did not do anything to win this football game, going 23 of 34 for 220 and an interception. Rushing was led by Travis Etienne, who ended up having 22 carries for 84 yards, and then Tootin and Trevor Lawrence combined for 3 rushing touchdowns. Receiving by Parker Washington. I think Brian Thomas Jr. got hurt in this game. There was no Travis Hunter. And then on defense, I think they had 2 sacks. Yeah, 2. Josh Hines Allen with 1.5 of those. The Vegas Raiders, they did everything except execute on the last play in overtime. 29 of 39 for 284 and 4 touchdowns. 3 of them going to Brock Bowers, and the other one went to Ashton Jeanty through the air. Jaguars, they gain a game on the Colts since the Colts did lose. And then the Raiders, this was the time to turn your season around, but falling to 2-6, it's going to be very difficult to try to get back into the playoff hunt. The easier pick'ems of the week, we had the Los Angeles Rams handling the Saints relatively quick, only scoring in the second quarter for the Saints. Tyler Shock in his first career start absolutely sucked, 15 of 24, 176 yards and a score. They had nothing going on the ground game. Alvin Kamara only getting 6 carries in this game. And then Devin Neal, I believe he was a 6th-round pick in this last year draft. It's absolutely cringe. And then Chris Olave couldn't get anything going through the air. Trade him to the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings don't need him, but we'll always take him. And then Matthew Stafford, another very quiet 4-touchdown day. Kyron Williams added 1 on the ground for good measure. Puka Nacua, I think, was banged a little bit in this game, but he said he's going to be okay. So I'm going to believe Puka Nacua. Devontae Adams still proving that he can still score the football, having 2 scores, and then Tyler Higbee getting the 4th and final score. Rams, again, there's not much to say. Defeated a really bad opponent. Saints are now battling for that number 1 overall pick. Next, we had the season prediction where the Bills always win against the Chiefs in the regular season, and that choose to continue this year, going 28-21, defeating the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes completing under 50% of his passes, but still throwing for 250 yards, 0 touchdowns, and an interception. Kareem Hunt and Rashee Rice added rushing touchdowns on the ground. Not sure where the third one came from. It had to probably have been from special teams. I do not see another touchdown on here, but very interesting stuff right there. The Bills, Josh Allen only had 3 incomplete passes on the day, 273 yards and a score. Very well done against a Coach Spags defense. James Cook still proving he's an absolute workhorse, 27 for 114 in this one. And then the leading receiver, my guy, Dalton Kincaid, have him in 2 leagues. Thank you for showing up. Some other people didn't. Not to be named now. But, I mean, the Chiefs defense, they did about everything they could. Look at these tackle numbers from Nick Bolton and Trent McDuffie and even Brian Cook here. But, again, this doesn't matter. Chiefs will probably still beat them in the playoffs this year, but big win for Buffalo. Final game of Sunday Night Football, we had the Seattle Seahawks just waxing the Washington Commanders. Sam Darnold going 21-24 for 330 yards and 4 touchdowns, only 1 interception. They had less than 100 yards rushing, but it didn't even really matter because you have this guy, Jackson Smith-Njigba. Pretty sure I said that in my prediction video, and he's on his way to Offensive Player of the Year. Him, Jonathan Taylor, and Christian McCaffrey are going to have a very interesting battle for that spot. Cody White only had 1 catch in this game, but went for 60 yards and a score. Torrey Horton with 2 scores, and Elijah Arroyo for another score. And then for the Washington Commanders, I'm pretty sure I saw Jaden Daniel get hurt in this game. I guess he didn't miss an offensive snap because Marcus Mariota doesn't have a pass attempt. On the ground game, they actually got some things going. 157 yards rushing, 12 of 65 for Chris Rodriguez Jr. With a score, Daniels got another score. Receiving, Zach Ertz led the way with 46 yards. It's just not going to get it done. The Seattle defense needs to be respected, and I'm going to be showing that in power rankings tomorrow. But Seahawks, way to get the win. And that's all I have for you today. If you guys have other thoughts on Week 9, please let them in the comment section below. That wasn't English. Please leave them in the comment section below. Hope everyone has an amazing Monday. I'm going to go learn how to speak English. But on a real note, it's been Zach. I'll see you guys tomorrow for NFL Week 10 Power Rankings. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.